Well, joining me now for more on this is Issa Amro, a Palestinian human rights activist in the occupied West Bank. Issa, thank you for being with us. We'll get on to the situation where you are shortly, but just want to ask first, when it became clear what had happened on October 7th, what went through your mind?
I want to highlight what is happening in the West Bank from October 7th until now, that the Israeli right-wing government is using the war in Gaza and the violence erupted on October 7th to revenge from human rights defenders, to shut off journalists. Israeli and Palestinian journalists were threatened, were arrested, were detained. Me personally, in October 7th, I was tortured, beaten, dehumanized by Israeli soldiers and Israeli settlers in an army uniform for 10 hours. On October 7th, I was, being held with the soldiers and the settlers, and I was humiliated. On Friday, me personally, I was evicted, expelled from my house. In my neighborhood in Tel Rumeda in Hebron and H2 in Hebron, there is a curfew since October 7th, and families are really without enough food and without enough water and without enough needs to survive. The children didn't go to the school. Around 500 Palestinian families from area C in West Bank left their homes, and they were, terrified, attacked by Israeli soldiers and Israeli settlers. Around 100 Palestinian civilians in West Bank were killed by the Israeli soldiers or by the Israeli settlers. So there is a crackdown on our rights in the West Bank. All the checkpoints in the West Bank are closed. People are not going to work. Israeli soldiers are moving around with brutality, with arrest, with violence, terrifying people, displacing them from their homes in the West Bank. This is too much for Palestinian civilians in the West Bank. This is too much for me personally to be evicted from my house, to be attacked, to be terrified as a human rights defender. And the main goal is to fulfill a political agenda. In Gaza, there is an official announced displacement policy toward the Palestinian civilians from Gaza to Sinai. And in West Bank, we see as a kind of unofficial policy from the Israeli government to displace Palestinians from Area C and from H2 in Hebron and East Jerusalem.
Issa.
So the Israeli right wing in Israel are using the war to implement facts in the ground, which is which is part of their political agenda. It's not part of the security. It's not about the part of the claims that Israel is defending itself.
Issa, can I ask you, there's been a lot of talk about replacing Hamas in Gaza with the Palestinian Authority that's also obviously, in charge where you are. Do you think that's possible? And, it's clear that Mahmoud Abbas has been losing popularity in the last few years. Do you think that this idea that's been floated about replacing Hamas with the PA, do you think that's even possible?
I don't think Israel or the international community can replace Hamas by Mahmoud Abbas, or they want. We, the Palestinians, in 2021, we were going toward election to choose our new leadership away from partisan, away from Fatah and from Hamas, and away from Mahmoud Abbas. Unfortunately, Israel refused to do the election in East Jerusalem. Israel doesn't distinguish between anybody. I am a non-violent activist. I was arrested, ill-treated, and convicted in the military court. It's not about Hamas or Fatah, or it's not about... If we remove Hamas, do you think Israel is ready to give Palestinians their full rights according to the international law? Big no. It's about the occupation. It's about apartheid. It's about giving the Palestinian a peace path toward the international, customs and international consensus that the Palestinians should be treated as a nation with full freedom and equality and justice, and not to treated as animals who are looking and seeking for food and shelter. It's about when Israel is ready to recognize the Palestinians as a nation who are really, who are part of their political solution. There is only one path for what's going on in Gaza. It's a political solution, and it's not, as Mr. Blinken told me, it's not a switch Issa, it needs time to heal. It needs time to reach non-violence and reach peace between us and the Israelis. This violent circle, this killing in Gaza, this killing in Israel will not help the Palestinians, will not help the Israelis. In the contrary, it increases the gap and it escalates the situation, and it takes Israel away from the Arab countries and even from the international community. Israel should fulfill its commitment to the international law, to Geneva Convention, not to target civilians, not to put civilians in cage and siege, and give the Palestinians
Issa, I understand it's an incredibly emotive issue.
From Israel.
We do have a limited amount of time. Apologies. President Biden, as a reminder, though, did tweet today that he still very much believes in a two-state solution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jen.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.